Hello, namaste, and welcome to this talk, which is called Accessing Higher Dimensions of Existence. Now, first of all, before we talk about the tools for accessing higher dimensions, it's first necessary to understand what higher dimensions are because higher dimensions can mean different things to different people, or even the idea of dimensions of existence or realms as they are commonly known as. So what are these dimensions? I would like to talk about this from two perspectives. One is the scientific perspective, the other is the spiritual perspective. So first let's talk about the scientific perspective. Now, as per mainstream science agrees that there are about 11 or maybe 13 dimensions, which means that there are higher dimensions of existence. Now, we human beings are living in a three-dimensional world, right? This physical world is a three-dimensional world. Basically, we can see and we can explore this world in three dimensions, or in science is known as vectors, in three vectors, which is the three axis, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Basically, you can see to your left, to your right, and upward and downward. These are kind of three directions or three dimensions: length, breadth, and height. These are the three dimensions of a physical body. So the question then is, if we are in this three-dimensional space, are there higher dimensions of existence? Now, some people think that time is the fourth higher dimension, and Albert Einstein, he came up with this theory of relativity that time is actually another dimension, and that's why he called this concept as space-time, which means that time is the fourth dimension, space three dimensions, and time is the fourth dimension. But if we take out time from the equation, and if we talk about dimensions in terms of space, then the question is, are there higher dimensions? Or in other words, can we explore this world beyond these three dimensions, beyond these three directions? Is there a fourth direction in which we can travel? Or are there higher dimensions? Are there more directions in which we can explore the universe? That's the question. So this concept was explained really well by Carl Sagan in his 1980 series Cosmos. And in one of the episodes, he talked about this idea of higher dimensions, or maybe a fourth dimension. And in this episode, he explained the concept of a tesseract. Now, let me explain this concept to you in my own words. So basically, the idea is that what if there are beings in higher dimensions? What if there are extra dimensional beings existing? Let's say there are, because we human beings, we have a body, and this body can be limited to three dimensions. But the question is, are there beings or entities in this universe which can exist in those higher dimensions, which can be beyond the physical body? Maybe they have like an energy body, or maybe they have a different kind of a four-dimensional body. So he explained this concept really well. He said that just think about it, that if there are beings in higher dimensions, let's say there are beings in the fourth or fifth dimension, then he said that these beings will be able to see us, but we will not be able to see them. Now, why is that? Why is that if there are beings in the higher dimensions, they will be able to see us, but we won't be able to see them? That's because he said that, let's take the example of a world which is flat. Let's take the example, a hypothetical example of a two-dimensional world. So let's say on your table, if there is a flat surface in front of you, if you can see that, let's say on your table, there are some creatures living. Let's say you make some drawings on this table, and these drawings, they come alive, they become characters, two-dimensional flat characters. In fact, there is, I think, also a book by the same, on the same concept. It's called Flatland. I don't remember the name of the author, but it is about these kind of hypothetical, imaginary, two-dimensional characters. So let's say there are beings on this flat surface of your table, living, some entities. Now you will know that these beings can only move in two directions, right? They can only move, because these are flat beings, they can only move on the surface of the table, and they can only see in two dimensions. Basically, they can see left, they can see right, but they cannot see upward. They cannot see, in the vector of height. They cannot see me, because their vision is limited to this flat surface, right? Now, I am a higher dimensional being for these two-dimensional beings. I am a three-dimensional being. I am a higher dimensional being for these two-dimensional beings. And these beings cannot see me, but I can see them. So similarly, he said that if there are, hypothetically, if there are beings or entities in higher dimensions, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, we cannot see them because we cannot see in that direction, in that vector, but they can see us the way we can see two-dimensional beings. So he said, he also gave an example of, or he also said that how will, for example, a cube look like in fourth dimension? A cube is a three-dimensional object, but if you extrapolate that cube into four dimensions, how will that look like? And it will look something like this. This is an example, just a kind of a visual representation of how a three-dimensional cube extrapolated into four dimensions, how will it look like? It will look something like this. This is called a hypercube. And on this concept of the hypercube, there are even movies made in which they talk about the Tesseract. So the Tesseract, for example, I think it was mentioned in Avengers, the Tesseract. The Tesseract is based on this concept of this hypercube. Now, as per different mystics, as per different spiritual traditions, as per, some religions, these entities that Carl Sagan was talking about, for Carl Sagan and for mainstream science, this is just a hypothetical thing. This is just a hypothetical possibility. But for these spiritual mystics and for these spiritual traditions, this is something which is real. This is something which is already happening. And these traditions do believe in these entities, that there are these, not only higher dimensional entities, but lower dimensional entities as well. That there are entities living in other dimensions which can see us, but maybe we cannot see them. But maybe on occasions, at times, we can see them. For example, for millennia, people have been talking about angels, demons, ghosts, entities. And in the shamanic tradition, shamans talk about power animals. And they have been journeying into this, a shaman journeys into different dimensions. Now, I want to explain this from the spiritual concept, this idea of dimensions. And I would like to use the concept of Buddha, the concept that is used in Buddhism, which is known as the wheel of samsara. The wheel of samsara. And this wheel of samsara is kind of a, it's kind of a wheel inside which 6 dimensions exist. And these are also known as 6 realms of samsara. And these 6 realms are different dimensions of existence. Now let me, in very short, explain these 6 realms to you. The first realm is the hell realm, in which, there are beings which are kind of dark beings which are, this realm is characterized by fear and violence. So there are beings who are like very violent and fearful. Then there is the hungry ghost realm. As you move up the dimensions, there is the hungry ghost realm in which beings are very greedy. And then we have the animal realm, which is represented by, the animals living in this world also. and the characteristic is the unconsciousness. Basically, animals might be very loving and very good, but mostly they are unconscious. They cannot self-reflect. And then comes the human realm, our realm, in which our dimension, in which we have, this is characterized by kind of duality, in which we have unconsciousness, we have consciousness, we have the capability to reflect, we have the capability to become conscious, to get enlightened, to be awakened, to get enlightened. We have love, fear, both. We have, kind of a dualistic existence. And then we move to the higher realms, where we have the realm of demigods. Now demigods are kind of powerful beings, and these beings are very much shown in the Greek mythology, in Hindu mythology, and these are kind of powerful beings who can manifest anything, who have a lot of power, but they are also very egocentric, and they fight a lot with each other. Then we have beings of the god realm or the heaven realm, in which there are beings who are very loving, very compassionate. They behave in a collective manner, and they are united with each other. They are not very much into fighting, but they have kind of manifested that heaven for themselves. So these are the 6 dimensions of existence as per Buddhism. And this has been my own experience as well. When I access these other dimensions, which I will be talking about now, how to do that using certain tools, I have experienced myself in these different dimensions. I have connected to different entities from different dimensions. And not only that, I have seen my own lives, past lives, as in these dimensions, living in these different dimensions. So let's now talk about how to access these higher dimensions. There are 5 tools that I will be talking about that are very useful in accessing higher dimensions. You can use these 5 tools to start accessing these higher dimensions, start opening yourself up to these higher dimensions, and maybe also connect to entities from these different dimensions and have a very vast experience, which is much greater than the ordinary experience of this 3-dimensional world. Here are the 5 tools. Number 1, deep meditation. Number 2, active imagination. Number 3, lucid dreaming. Number 4, liminal lucidity. And number 5, altered states of consciousness. Now let's discuss them one by one. The first one is deep meditation. Now, deep meditation, why I'm saying deep meditation? Because when we are doing the regular meditation, which is a kind of a short meditation, a lot of people are meditating today, and that's wonderful. But mostly when we talk about meditation, mostly you will see that when we do app-based meditations, which is wonderful in itself, and mostly when people meditate today, because they have a very busy life, they would meditate mostly for 15 minutes at the max, 20 minutes. Now this is good for having a blissful experience, for peace, for relaxing oneself, but it doesn't take us deeper into those dimensions. To start accessing those different dimensions of existence, we will have to stay longer in meditation. I believe that it takes about at least from half an hour to anything between, there is no limit to how long you can meditate, but from half an hour to 2 hours is kind of the ideal range to start accessing these different dimensions of existence. And that's when people start getting, out of body experiences, and they start doing astral travel, astral projection. They start connecting to different entities. So if this is the most natural way of accessing these different dimensions of existence, and it is the most effective way in the long run. There are shorter ways also, which I will be talking about, but in the long run, if we want to stay connected to these different dimensions and these entities and open up ourselves to the multi-dimensional universe, then it's a good idea to to increase, to expand our meditation practice. So if you are, can I start meditating for half an hour or more than that? Can I start staying longer in meditation? Because when we are doing a 15-20 minute meditation, it is good, but by that time we only get to clear our mind and relax a bit, and maybe just connect to that higher realm, start connecting to that bliss inside us, start connecting to different dimensions. But to have those deeper experiences in those dimensions, we have to stay there, right? So it's a good idea to do longer meditations for connecting to higher dimensions and go deeper into your meditation practice. The second one is called active imagination. Now, active imagination is a device that was created by Carl Jung, who is considered to be one of the founding fathers of modern psychology. And he used this technique for therapy in his client sessions. But when I started doing this technique, I realized that this technique not only helps in therapy, but it also helps in accessing these different dimensions and connecting to different entities. So let me explain a bit how to do this practice. To do this practice, what you do is you close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, you first relax your mind, right? So you maybe do a meditation practice, you clear your mind, you clear the thoughts, you do some breathing practice, focus on your breath, let your mind relax. And once you have done that, start noticing what do you see with your eyes closed. Now when I say that what do you see with your eyes closed, it means that what do you see on kind of the backside of your eyelids or in this darkness. What can you see? As if you're looking outside, but with your eyes closed. So when you do that, you will start noticing that in this darkness some things have started coming up. First maybe you will notice some shapes, some light patterns. Then as you stay there longer and longer, you will start noticing maybe some other proper shapes coming up or fractals coming up. And then as you stay longer and longer, you will start noticing some images coming up. And these images, as you keep noticing these images kind of turn into those higher dimensional experiences. Maybe you'll start seeing some entities in those images, or maybe you'll start seeing some visuals which you haven't seen before, kind of a world which you haven't seen before. People talk about these extraordinary experiences. People talk about seeing a greater earth which is beyond this ordinary earth, in which there are many entities, kind of elves and fairies and angels and all these entities living, and dragons, all these entities living on this greater earth. So these are kind of experiences that start happening as you go deeper and deeper into this active imagination practice. Now this is different from visualization. I want to make this clear, because some people can confuse it with visualization, and people might think that I'm just kind of conjuring up these images and this is just hallucination or imagination. Now visualization is different from active imagination in the sense that when we visualize something, we have an intention for it. We intentionally bring up a visual in our mind. For example, if I say that, okay, I want to have a big house, that's what I want to manifest. So then what I will do is I will intentionally visualize this house in my mind. This is not active imagination. This is just simple visualization. But when I talk about active imagination, what I do is I do not make an intention to see something specific, or I do not intentionally bring visuals into my mind. What I do is I simply allow things to come up. I simply allow those visuals to come up rather than trying to force them or bring something specific intentionally. So this is how active imagination is different from visualization. And yes, definitely it requires practice. The more skilled meditator you are, the more you can relax your mind, the more easily you will start connecting to these higher dimensions through active imagination. The third tool is lucid dreaming. Now, lucid dreaming is quite a popular technique in which you become aware of your dream, in which you become conscious of your dream, in which you realize that you are dreaming, and that dream is a very kind of a vivid experience, as if it is real, happening very happening in a very real manner to you, and as if it is reality itself. So lucid dreaming, however, can also be used for accessing higher dimensions. In lucid dreams, you can encounter entities. In lucid dreams, in your dreams, you can speak to entities, you can, travel to different realms. And to do that, there are a lot of lucid dreaming practices which a lot of people do. Some of the practices to do lucid dreaming and to get lucid dreams is just before you are asleep, you do a yoga nidra practice, or you make an intention for having a lucid dream. You deliberately tell yourself, your mind, that I want to have a lucid dream, right? Or you do a prayer in which you mention to God or whatever entity you are praying to that I want to have this lucid dream. I want to see this lucid dream. When you want to access these higher dimensions, then you can make an intentional, prayer or an intention that in my dream, in my lucid dream, I want to talk to entities or I want to access higher dimensions. When you specifically say that, you will start noticing that. So basically what you are doing for having a lucid dream is you are making intention before sleeping. And when you repeat that intention in your mind, most probably you'll get a lucid dream. And when in your intention you include this intention that you also want to access higher dimensions, most probably you'll start accessing those higher dimensions, connecting with different entities in your lucid dream. Some people also do some practices like writing their intention on a piece of paper and putting it just under their pillow so that their subconscious keeps reading that intention from that piece of paper even while they are asleep. And in fact, there was a mystic by the name George Gurdjieff, and he came up with this practice to lucid dream in which he said that if you keep asking this question just before sleep, if you keep asking this question to yourself, is this real? Is this real? Is this real? If you ask this question to yourself again and again before sleeping, if you make this kind of a regular practice, then somewhere between 3 to 9 months, you will ask this question in your dream as well, is this real? And then you will realize that it's a dream, and that's when you will start having a lucid dream. So lucid dreaming is one of the ways through which you start experiencing. When you become lucid, when you become conscious in your dreams, you start intentionally, consciously speaking to those entities from different dimensions that you see in your dream and start interacting with this world, with these other dimensions in your dream. The fourth one is something I call liminal lucidity. Liminal lucidity. Now, liminal lucidity is something which is very interesting actually. So what you do for this, so basically liminal space is that space, is that realm which is between two realms. I also call it the sandwich realm. So this is the realm between two realms, and those two realms are the sleep realm and the waking realm. So it is that realm between wakefulness and sleep which you can access, and when you access that, you will access these other dimensions. And this is a very effective practice, one of my favorite practices. So what you do is, when you wake up in the morning, don't open your eyes. So the idea is that you are awake, you are awake, but still your eyes are closed. Allow yourself to not open your eyes. Allow yourself to keep your eyes closed although you are awake. And when you do that, allow yourself to see what you see then. With your eyes closed, you are awake, and then you see as if, the way you have been seeing, the way you see in active imagination. Similarly, allow yourself to see with your eyes closed. And that is the time when it is most effective to experience these other dimensions. And I have experienced many entities, these other dimensions in this space, in this realm. I see different entities. It's a very, very highly effective practice to access these higher dimensions or different dimensions. So once again, what you do is, when you wake up in the morning, don't yet open your eyes and allow yourself to see with your eyes closed. And that's when you enter this liminal space, and this is what liminal lucidity is. The fifth one is altered states of consciousness. Now, altered states of consciousness can be achieved through many practices. All these that we discussed till now, meditation, lucid dreaming, all these help in achieving those altered states of consciousness, because only when we are in an altered state of consciousness we can access these other dimensions. Because in these states, our brain kind of expands its filter. The brain is kind of a filter, right? It is filtering existence. If the existence has many dimensions, then this brain is limiting our experience to 3 dimensions using our senses, the 5 senses. So when we take these, when we get into a altered state of consciousness, our brain kind of expands and allows us to access more of these higher dimensions. So whatever we discussed till now gets us to an altered state of consciousness. Even practices like breath work or music, specifically shamanic drumming, these practices help us to get into altered states of consciousness. But the most effective and the most kind of a shortcut to access these higher dimensions is through psychedelics, which brings us to an altered state of consciousness in a very short time. And the experience is also very short-lived. So when we take a psychedelic, it's like it kind of opens a door, inside us, and we can. This door is this door to other dimensions, and we can go through this door and experience these higher dimensions, these different dimensions, for a while. So although this is a wonderful practice, very effective practice, taking psychedelics, but this is not something which I prefer, because I like long-term experiences. I like a long-term connection with these higher dimensions. But what psychedelics do is they help you to just initiate yourself into these higher dimensions and connect with these entities. So when people take psychedelics, they talk about traveling different realms. For example, shamans, they do their shamanic journeying a lot of time through psychedelics. Especially their most popular psychedelic brew, which is known as ayahuasca, or mushrooms, magic mushrooms. And then this journey is for a while, right? This journey is for a few hours, and then you connect with different entities. So a lot of people talk about connecting to different entities. They talk to different entities. They talk to power animals and spirits and angels. And then they also talk about speaking with these entities and getting guidance from these entities. So this is a powerful practice to connect to this realm, but this connection is short-lived. And a lot of people kind of become dependent on psychedelics for experiencing this, which is not a very good thing, because this accessing higher dimensions is good, when we can develop it as a innate capability, rather than being dependent on a substance for accessing those dimensions. So having psychedelics can help us get initiated on this path, can help us open that door to these other dimensions for a while. But in the long run, I would say that practices like meditation, especially meditation, is something which is really valuable to have this long-term connection with higher dimensions. So I hope you found value in this talk. I hope you found value in these 5 tools, and I hope you build a connection, open yourself to a broader existence, connect with these other dimensions, with these entities, because all these entities which live in other dimensions, they also want to connect to us. So, let's not be afraid of connecting to them. Let's make an intention to connect to loving entities. When you make your specific intention that I only want to connect to loving entities, then you get those entities, rather than getting entities from some dark realms, or something like demons or ghosts or hell beings. When your intention is loving, when you have love in your heart, and with that loving intention you make this intention of connecting to loving entities, because there are so many loving entities in this universe. The whole universe and all these dimensions are similar to our planet. There are good people, for example, on this planet there are good people, loving people, and there are some people who are dark and fearful as well, and violent as well, right? So similarly goes for these entities. There are many wonderful entities in the universe that can help you, that can guide you, that can give you love, that can take care of you. So when we make a loving intention and when we connect to these entities, it's a wonderful experience to have. So I invite you to do that and have a wonderful journey. Take care. Namaste. Thank you for watching this video, and I'm going to update my YouTube channel with more such videos, and I'm going to regularly post videos on similar related topics. So if this is something which interests you, then do subscribe to this channel, and I will see you again. Take care.